I'll go ahead and get started. Welcome everybody to our AppsFlyer Direct Integration webinar. My name is Sooah. I'll be doing some part of this presentation today. Joining me, we also have Julien and from our product team and Liz from Aragon Premium will also be part of this webinar. Thanks again, Liz, for joining us today. At any point of this webinar, if you have any questions, you can use the Q&A or chat button. You will be given time to ask questions as well, which will then go over any pre-existing questions or Q&As as well. Now, we'll get started. So here are your presenters today. As I mentioned, I'm Sooah. I'm a Senior Customer Success Manager at Everflow. If this is not your first time joining our webinar, you've probably seen me somewhere. If not, probably do the chat or email support. We have Julien as well, who is a product manager and is the big brain behind pushing this product forward. And Liz from Aragon, who have been helping us silently in the background in perfecting this feature and giving us understanding how it can actually help our client. So thank you again, Liz, for that. Now in this webinar, we will introduce the new AppsFlyer Direct Integration and its benefits, demonstrate how to configure your AppsFlyer integration, hear from Aragon Premium of their experience and the use cases, Q&A with Julien, the product manager, and end with upcoming webinars that we're very excited about. So AppsFlyer Direct Integration, what is it? Previously, AppsFlyer integration, and still can be, done manually by grabbing links from AppsFlyer, creating and mapping events in two separate platforms, meaning AppsFlyer and Everflow, and was done through server postback. I mean, nothing's wrong with it, but there were some discrepancies in reporting because it involves redirects. It can be time consuming to configure if you are managing more than one offer. That means that you had to map every event separately. That means that you have to link every app or campaign separately, creating an offer for every campaign that you're working with, etc. And it could lead to missing vital information like cost data, which was hard to get unless it was a static data that you could pass in an attribution link with this manual integration. And we wanted to solve these problems and ease the process. So what will change? Again, to reiterate, you still have the option to manually integrate if you like to, but with this AppsFlyer Direct Integration, you have an accurate reporting without redirects. You'll be able to configure campaigns and event mapping without having to going back and forth and all the hassle. And bring cost data into Everflow from AppsFlyer so you can optimize your campaign with more accurate data and a cost data with that. So how can you start? To do so, you go to the Integrations tab, MMP and AppsFlyer, which I'll also show in our environment very shortly. Click on Connect Integrations, enter your API key and name. One thing to note here, that only one integration is allowed for one API key. And lastly, configure. So for the configuration part, I will move the tab and how it looked like in our UI. All right, perfect. So once you go to integration, MMP, and we already have a configured integration here for demonstration and testing, etc. But if you haven't, you see a button to ask you to connect or configure here. You add one if you don't have one, and follow the steps to input the API name. Since we have one here, we'll use this to see. And once you start this process, the first step you'll see is your general. You input your app ID, input your app name, and select the sync start date. Note that this can only go back up to 30 days. it cannot go further than 30 days to start the sync. Next will be managing and mapping configurations. Here you'll be asked to select either target offer or target advertiser. In this case, we have set up with an organic offer, which is a placeholder offer. And once that's selected, you click sync now. This will basically call for all the AppsFlyer campaigns or events that's related. You can select none, which I don't know why you would, but you could. Or you can select the offers. You can check more than one. By default, you be mapped to everything. If you uncheck any campaigns, then you can exclude them as well. And once these data is fetched, you can select an event to map them with. So for instance, let's say that I want to map AppsFlyer event ID 19 to annual subscription, 6 to monthly subscription. Previously, you actually have to create an event in Everflow and take that event ID and place it as a partner identifier in AppsFlyer. With this integration, you can do this directly on Everflow without having to go back and forth. Once the events are mapped, we're going to move on to the publishers. You also be asked to map the publishers here. So for instance, I have mapped publisher 2 to publisher 16 Everflow. This is so that you can see the respective reporting of each partner. And you will be asked to put a payout percentage. Think of this in Everflow terms as a PRV. You see the cost data as a revenue. So based on that cost data, you be given this much percentage to the payout to partners as a payout. So for instance, if let's say the cost or revenue that I received from AppsFlyer was 100, by setting this percentage at 33%, I am assigning $33 as a payout to this particular publisher. You can also apply the bulk edit payout percentage if you decided that you want to give out this equal amount to every partner. Now, once that's set up, you can either save here or there is an additional settings. This is optional, but this can come handy if the cost data is unknown to you. This will basically set manual revenue amount or cost for either whatever event that you choose. It can be install, it can be event ID 1, 10, sign up, whatever that might be. And with this, you can also set a custom rate for different publishers as well, as you can see. So for instance, if I want to see that the cost for publisher 2 will be 10, different from the base rate that I have set here as 11, you can do that here. And once that's done, you can hit save. Now, what happens when you hit save? Great question. What kind of questions that you should ask. With this, we'll pull reporting here every day. And you see that per offer, per partner, based on what you have configured in the integration settings and how many conversions were there, what was the revenue, what was the basically cost data, which is then again will show as a revenue in Everflow, and what was the payout, again, that you have configured in the integration section, gross sales, and basically top level data. You can also click on view source details and see what this is pertaining to as well if you need a little more information. Now, these reporting data will also be visible in the top level reporting, meaning pretty much anything that you select here, but may need offer, partner, and advertiser level reporting. Note that this won't show in the raw reporting, like click or conversion data reporting, but you'll be able to see this data and generate invoices based on this as well. Now, that is how it'll look within your UI when it is launched today. I'll go back to our presentation. A few things to note. Payout percentage we have covered just now will override offer and custom settings. So if you have an offer that you have created with custom settings or has a default rate, this will take priority. If you have a custom payout, it won't be applied based and be ignored. One more time, the imported cost will show as revenue in Everflow reporting. Just because names are different, I wanted to stress this point so everybody's on the same page. Now, with that, without further ado, Liz from Aragon Premium will join me and share her insights on about using this feature, what Aragon does, and how it helped her in her company. That I will turn on the video. Okay. Hi, Liz. Can you hear me okay?
Hello.
Yay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for speaking again.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So if you don't mind, can we start with introduction to what you do and who you are, and what does Aragon Premium do and what makes it amazing amongst its
Yeah, of course. So my name is Liz Bureman. I'm the ad operations manager for the Aragon Company, which Aragon Premium is one of the company divisions. There are 5 individual brands underneath the Aragon Company umbrella. And the Premium division is a performance marketing network, specializes in mobile and lead gen. So that's why we have a lot of AppsFlyer specific needs. Top verticals that the company works with are fintech, gaming, casino, rewarded, debt, insurance. The company uses both owned and operated sources of traffic, as well as exclusive third-party partners, primarily through paid social performance influencer marketing, so CPI and CPA basis for influencer, paid search, content, rewarded display. Brands that the company works with are BetMGM, DoorDash, Papaya, Gaming, Skills, Capital One. That's the short and sweet of it. There's a lot going on there. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Diversifying is important. So with that, how has Everflow AppsFlyer integration impacted your day-to-day operation, or how did it help you in ways that compare to using Postback to integrate AppsFlyer data into Everflow?
Sure. So our mobile division, the Aragon Premium team, works with AppsFlyer clients on both the mobile network side as well as the agency side. So AppsFlyer has 2 different types of partner accounts. On the mobile network side of things, we run typical postback integrations. We've got a global postback implemented there for both installs and events. On the agency side of things, there's not really a turnkey way to import that data on the AppsFlyer side into the reporting tool. So that's a gap that exists for us. Every morning, my team goes into AppsFlyer, pulls reports for that agency data, formats that data for import into Tableau, which is the reporting tool that the account management team uses. So that is a decent amount of manual work that's required from the team on a daily basis. Plus, that means that the account managers on the Aragon Premium team have to wait for that data to be imported in order for them to access reporting and really start getting into the nitty-gritty of their day. With this integration, that data import is automated into Everflow. So that can then be exported into Tableau for the AMs to view reporting. There's less of a need for them to wait for those manual updates. And then that automation also frees up my team, since we cover 5 different companies underneath Aragon's broader brand. That gives us more time to focus on tasks that come up on an ad hoc basis or other high priority tasks.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that this integration helps your team focus on what's actually important than having to do all the prep work. Excuse me.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. And with that, what feature do you find most valuable with this direct AppsFlyer integration for your business? And I think you might have covered it in your previous answer, but if you don't mind entertaining me one more time.
Yeah, of course. The automation and the workflow efficiency piece that this allows for us, I think, is the biggest benefit that we've seen. Again, it just frees up time for us, and then it removes the delay for the account management team as well. It also allows us to customize payout information, payout data. It gives us a lot of control over that, pulling that data into Everflow. So that's also really helpful for us to be able to view that information rather than having to run and import at the end of the month, to make sure that all publishers get paid the right amounts, things like that. We can sort of see how things are going on a day-to-day basis.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing your insight on how your company is using this integration to really focus on what matters. And, that could be optimizing campaigns or spending resources where it's actually needed instead of having to focus on manual work. Because as a tech company, we don't want to do that, right?
Yeah. As much as we can automate things that are the more mundane side of things, that's super helpful for us.
For sure. Thank you so much, Liz, for your input.
Yeah. Thank you.
Now, I'm going to go back to this slides. And this is a time for Q&A, straight to the source. Our product manager, Julien, who also was, again, the brain behind this operation, can answer any questions you might have about the feature, if any at this moment. Please, again, use the chat feature to enter questions or use the Q&A section. I'll give it a couple minutes. And while we were giving time, I would just go ahead and talk about my favorite part of this integration, because I too also worked in the other side of the bridge where I had to manage campaigns and look at data. And one thing that I worked with AppsFlyer that bothered me a lot was having to manually map events. It seems little, but having to go back and forth between these platforms were a bit of an annoyance for me, and I didn't feel like my time was spent in tasks that mattered rather than having to pretty much put in numbers. And I am glad that that was addressed in this feature. And doesn't seem like there are any questions coming in, so we'll move on to the last part of this webinar. We have some more webinars coming in, like this one. On September 18th, we have a comprehensive guide to analytics and dimensional variance reports that will be hosted by Isaac. On 25th of this month, we'll have another new feature that we worked very hard on called Event Funnel Analytics. This will let you pick and choose specific and base events and see how they evolve through the user flow in a linear view. If your company tracks events, most of our clients definitely do, and you are interested in seeing the relationships or how they evolved through the funnel, this would be a great webinar for you to participate and a great feature to just look out for. On October 2nd, the next month, we're going to host another webinar by Isaac on best practices for setting up and using e-commerce specific reports. This will be product reports or refund reports, which will give you insight on what kind of products are actually selling, which partner sold what sort of products the most, or for refunds report, pulling information on which transactions have been refunded or canceled without you having to manually go back and forth and check. Now, with that, if there are no other questions, thank you from Everflow team, and thank you again, Liz, for joining us today and spending your precious time. And that will conclude our webinar today.
Thank you so much, Liz, and thank you, Sooah. I just want to add something. So basically, this feature is still beta. So Like we're willing to work with customers to enhance the feature, like we did with Liz. So we're like absolutely willing to hear about feedback about what could be improved, what could be better suited for your use case. So don't hesitate to reach out to support team to be in contact with us at product team. We're like very willing to work with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Julien, for pointing that out. As always, support team is available, whether it's for troubleshooting or like this, like providing some feedback on feature and how we can improve it, because that's one thing that Everflow prides itself on, is the working with our clients, whether it's pushing new features out or improving the current ones. We want to hear from you. So you know where to find us. There's a button that you click on to send us a message or send us an email at support@everflow.io. All right, and with that, we'll conclude this webinar. Thank you and have a great day, everybody.